Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. We have a great show today, but before we get to that, I wanted to remind you of a few things. We have 2 great books on Amazon that will help you get the Big Four job that you deserve, and I've included links to those books in the show notes. Additionally, I wanted to remind everyone to make sure that they subscribe to this podcast to stay up to date on the latest Big Four news and career tips. Also, make sure to share the show with a friend if you get a chance. Lastly, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll include links to all our social media in the show notes. Thanks and enjoy the show. Today I wanted to cover a book that I recently read that I recommend because I believe it can help all Big Four professionals and potential CPA exam candidates. It is a book called Learn Better, and the author is Ulrich Boser. And I'll provide a link to where you can find this book in the show notes. And this book can help anyone become a master learner, which might be useful if you're studying for the CPA exam or if you just want to become more technical in a specific area within the Big Four. And it does this by covering some unique learning techniques. And one of the techniques that it recommends is to find meaning in what you are learning so that you can learn better. It's important to find meaning in what you are learning in order to absorb the material. If you can't find a purpose in learning the material, then you will struggle to learn it. In order to do this, you should consider the bigger picture of what you are learning before you begin studying. And you can apply this to the CPA exam by considering why you are learning the financial section of the exam or why you are learning the regulation section of the exam. And break each part of each section down into its components and try understanding why you are being tested on it. You can accomplish this by conducting a little search on Google on each area that you study for the CPA and understand the reasons why it is developed. For example, instead of just studying what the individual personal tax brackets are for the regulation section of the CPA exam, try researching how those individual tax brackets were developed and why they've changed over time. This will make your learning more interesting and will make what you learn last longer within your memory. We wanted to take a break from today's show to remind everyone to subscribe to this podcast so that you can get all of our book recommendations like you are receiving today. And if you subscribe, you can also stay up to date on the latest Big Four news and career tips. Now let's get back to the show. This book also suggests gaining feedback and how gaining feedback is an important part of learning. For example, you are going to get better at a sport or in physical fitness if you have a coach that is constantly observing you and can point out your weaknesses sooner. For example, if you're shooting a basketball and your feet are placed wrong, it's going to take you forever to realize that your feet are in the wrong place. But if somebody's watching you shoot hoops and they see your feet point inwards when they should be straight, you're going to start making baskets a lot sooner if you have a coach that's watching you. To apply this to the CPA exam, you can take live CPA courses so that you can participate in learning live and in person and take practice tests with other people or practice questions with other people, and they could point out your faults in your logic and where your weaknesses are a lot sooner than it's going to take you to realize that. If you already work at the Big Four and have passed the CPA, this means that you should just be open to feedback in order to learn on the Big Four job. You can also ask very experienced and knowledgeable people at the Big Four how they got to where they did and how they gained the knowledge that they did. But there's some problems that you might run into if you ask experienced people how they got to where they did, though. And this book will also go over that, so make sure to check it out because I don't want to spoil all the advice that it provides. But another great piece of advice this book offers is to not study distracted. You need to be focused when you study. It speaks about how being distracted affects your ability to remember in the short term and ultimately how you learn in the long term. This means that you shouldn't be doing all that studying with your music playing or with the TV on in the background or with your phone sitting right next to you. You need to be completely focused. In conclusion, Learn Better is a great book that provides some great and unique ways to learn better. And there are many more tips in this book that I didn't cover in the podcast today, so make sure to check it out. And since 50% of the people that take the CPA exam fail the exam, you need to be able to learn better in order to pass and differentiate yourself from other candidates. And the book Learn Better will teach you techniques about how to improve your ability to learn any subject and will also provide you the science behind it. And you can also use this book to help you in your Big Four career. If you are struggling to stand out among your peers or learn a tough subject matter in the Big Four, use this book to help you find new techniques to become better and more technical. That's all we have for today. Thanks for listening.